You know what, guys? I'm in such a good mood. I've had a cup of coffee, a high brew, and yesterday I finished off two interesting, to say the least, slasher movies that were on the list. I was thinking about not reviewing them, but I think I've decided I want to review them. Just go ahead and get them out there. These are going to be two really quick reviews, rapid fire, one after another, in the same video. By the way, this is Resurrection Reviews, and I'm Steve, of course. But before I get on to doing a few things that I need to do today, before I have to go to work, I wanted to go ahead and just say I watched two slasher movies yesterday, 2.5 to the equal of 2, maybe. Let's see, day before yesterday on Tuesday, I started a movie called, Highbrew's coming back on me. Sorry about that, guys. And not in a good, powerful sense either. But still a wonderful drink. Highbrew, you should totally sponsor me. But as I was saying, the movie I watched yesterday was called The Suspicious Death of a Minor. It was from 1975. I counted it as a slasher film because it's on a couple lists, or it's on a list of slasher movies of the 1970s. I always start the slasher movies at 1974, and everything after that can be considered a slasher movie. Before 1974, everything's a proto-slasher. This includes Psycho, this includes Peeping Tom, Twitch of the Death Nerve, all these other great movies that maybe are even too good to be considered slashers. But from 1974, starting with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Black Christmas on forward, that's when I can call things slasher movies. However, The Suspicious Death of a Minor is not a slasher movie. I watched it. It was under the slasher label. You know, it's considered a slasher. Definitely considered a giallo, but in some ways, I even have a hard time calling it a giallo. I don't have a lot of experience with giallos, but generally, I think of giallos having more involvement from a central killer. Now, Suspicious Death of a Minor is about this detective, or this group of detectives that are investigating the death of a prostitute that was 16 or younger. There's a couple murders like this going around, or they're investigating, I think, a prostitution ring that specifically traffics underage girls. And without getting it too complicated, because the plot is somewhat complicated, there's one murder at the beginning that's sort of in a giallo/slasher style. The opening of the movie kind of... What's good is that there is really good music in this movie, and it kind of lulls you into a repose for the first about 5 minutes with virtually no dialogue. And then the slashing starts. And there's one great, really good giallo-style death scene. And then it's police procedural. From there until probably about halfway through the movie. And the police procedural part, by the way, also includes a lot of like slapsticky comedy and pun-based comedy and stuff like that, just different stuff like that. There is a little bit of nudity in here, I will also mention. I, of course, am against that, but if it's your bag, if that's your bag, you go ahead. But I do disagree with it, and I would say you probably shouldn't, but, you know, do as you wish. As I'm saying, though, it's a police procedural. I think it's maybe called a Poliziano movie or something like that, when it's an Italian crime police procedural movie. So it's that genre up until about 3/4 of the way through, and then it becomes a slasher again because the killer comes back and starts killing a few people. But we have found out at this point that this killer is a hired man. He's not just a psycho out there killing people. He also doesn't have a great disguise or anything. He's not really disfigured until the second time that he shows up, second or third time that he kills somebody. The only disguise he's got is he wears a suit, he's got long blonde hair, and he's got some reflective sunglasses. That's it. And, you know, I gotta say, I don't really like this killer that much. I think he's okay, but he's a hired guy. He's not really a slasher. So it kind of ends being a slasher when, spoiler alert, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, giving you time to click away if you need to, or skip ahead an extra 10 seconds. So go ahead and do that now. Alright, so, spoiler alert, the killer is killed. And then we eventually find out exactly who has hired this guy, and then we get into busting him. And that, again, continues to be a crime movie or a police procedural. This movie overall has good music, really good cinematography, some pretty darn good acting. Some of the slapsticky comedy stuff works, some of it doesn't. You do like the characters overall, I think. It's got an interesting sort of blurring the lines, gray area, hard-boiled detective kind of thing with at least one of its detectives. There's some good stuff in this movie. I would recommend it if you can skip past the nude scenes. I say it's a pretty darn fun, good movie. It is not a slasher movie, though, so I gotta give it that. So we're already 6 minutes and 48 seconds in. I'm going to go ahead and quickly go over the next movie here, which is Steel and Lace. This is from 1991, I believe, or maybe just 1990. It's one of those years. It's sort of that transitional period between the 80s and the 90s. Slasher movies were still coming out, but mostly for the home video market, and they mostly weren't good. This follows that trend. It's not a very good movie. There's a little bit of nudity in it. I of course don't appreciate that. However, I will say that the movie is, in some respects, entertaining. There is some at least okay acting in here. The script is, it's got some problems, and the dialogue can be kind of weird, and the whole idea of the movie is kind of fascinating, but also kind of a takeoff on rape revenge movies of the 1970s and early 80s. I gotta say, that's a real mixed bag, but I do think if you can skip past the nudity, it's an okay movie to watch. Fun stuff. It's got Bruce Davidson, I believe is his name, in it. He's, of course, a pretty good actor, although he does one of the worst no's, screaming no. One of the worst in movie history, I think. Up there with Revenge of the Sith. No kind of thing. But good stuff in some respects. Some really interesting kills. Not bad special effects at all, I gotta say. And overall, a pretty okay movie. I would recommend it for, people who are slasher completists. Maybe watch it. Both of these movies, by the way, are for free on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, go ahead and watch them totally for free. They are, I think, both worth sitting down and watching. And I would say the better of the two is definitely Suspicious Death of a Minor, but the one that's a definite slasher film, with some sci-fi elements, by the way. I'm not going to spoil everything, but with some sci-fi elements, there's Steel and Lace. I think both movies are entertaining. Steel and Lace is more of a slasher film. It's got crazy slasher gore and pretty cool special effects, and the acting is at least worthwhile. There's some good stuff in this movie, and David Naughton from An American Werewolf in London and Body Bags and several other pretty darn good horror movies. He's in here, and he does a good job. He plays kind of a grizzled cop, and it works. There's some real funny stuff in this movie, too. Real funny stuff in both movies, honestly. They're kind of horror comedies. well, I can't say Suspicious Death of a Minor is a horror movie, but it's got some, like, crime, serial killery elements. But anyway, both movies definitely worthwhile. One I would only consider to be a slasher movie. The other is a pretty fun crime movie, but still sort of in the germination period of the slasher movie. And it's Italian, so it takes a lot of cues from giallo as opposed to slasher. This is by Umberto Lenzi, I believe, but I could totally have that wrong. Actually, I think I do have that wrong. I'm not exactly sure who directed that movie. I'm not sure who directed either of these movies, but I would say worth a watch. Both, I think, are better than Killing Spree. I think they're both better. None, of course, as good as Scream, which I've got here. I also started to watch recently, just to add on a little extra thing. I did recently start watching Graduation Day. I'm not a big fan of that movie, gotta be perfectly honest with you. But I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna review it, because I haven't reviewed it before, at least on this channel. Got a pretty good release of it. Might even review the Blu-ray a little bit, who knows, but I say definitely give a chance to all three of the movies I've already reviewed. Not 100% recommending the nudity in the next two, but both of them are, all three of them, pretty solid movies. I'm just kind of rambling at this point, so I should probably get off here. And I've got to go do some stuff at the library, so rock on. If you like, subscribe. Talk to you later. I'll see you guys later, either tonight or tomorrow. I don't know, but I'll let you know eventually. You'll see me. Rock on. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.